Survivor Specialist Phil and Alexa are back with our episode 2 predictions and power rankings for Survivor 40 Winners at War. And today we are joined by the winner of Edge of Extinction, Chris Underwood.
Underwood!
I could not do that, so I had to have Chris do that. I was not going to get up to the levels of Bryce. Chris, you did a pretty damn good job.
You got to really you got to get it's kind of come from your stomach, Underwood!
And right now there are people practicing at home as they listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
So thanks for that.
You're gonna be getting a lot of tweets of just impersonations of people shouting my last name, but it'll be good entertainment. What's
Bryce
up, guys? How you doing?
We're doing great.
I know. He always does. He's good. You guys doing good?
Yeah.
What's new in the life of the Survivor Specialist?
We're just enjoying Survivor Winners at War. That's really all I can say. We just got our first episode. So finally it's like the regular season rather than Alexa and I having it's cool to actually see it happen since last May, 3 days after your finale, we started talking about season 40 of Survivor. Finally, we actually get to watch it. So what's new in the life of Survivor Specialist? Pretty much just that we're actually talking about something that's happening rather than what might happen. So it's pretty wonderful.
Good. Yeah. A lot of people have been waiting for this one for, I don't know how many years.
I know.
10, 15 years. They've wanted an all-winner season since they could put together an all-winners cast. So it's been a long time coming.
What's it like watching an all-winner season, being a winner?
I can't complain. It's honestly so much. It's been so much fun, watching the preseason stuff. The last year, I've gotten to know a lot of the winners, and it's really cool to see them on TV again. And I'm such a fan. I am a huge Survivor fan. So just to see these players again that we grew up watching back on screen, battling out with each other, whether I was out there or not, even sitting on the couch, I'm so stoked for this season. So yeah, it's been a ton of fun. It's been really cool, seeing all these people, and I'm not bitter or anything. I'm totally love watching these guys. They have a really good cast this year, so it's good.
Yeah, it's epic. It's so weird when I'm sitting there watching Ethan, Boston Rob, Parvati, and Danny talk to each other. I'm like, whoa, you would have told me this when I was 10 years old. I would have lost my mind. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So,
yep. I feel the same way.
So what we're going to do here is we're going to run through the predictions and power rankings for what's coming up. We're definitely going to be talking about Edge of Extinction, the twist itself. What I want everybody to know is if you're not a Patreon, but this sounds like fun, or if you're not a patron of our Patreon, but this sounds like fun, go ahead and join patreon.com/Survivor Specialist. For our $20 patrons, you can compete alongside all the Survivor players, Alexa and I, throughout the season in our power rankings game. So if you want to get involved, it's not too late. I think we're up to about 37 people. So you have a pretty much a 1 in 37 chance of winning a buff, which that's pretty good odds. That's not bad. And even if you don't win the buff, if you beat all this group of survivors we're going to have throughout the season, you can say, well, at least I beat the survivors. So you could compare yourself to Chris Underwood here and be like, I beat Chris Underwood. So it's something to look forward to. If you want to compete in it, go ahead, sign up at patreon.com/Survivor Specialist. But Chris, I want to talk to you about Edge of Extinction first, because obviously people might know you as the guy who won Survivor Edge of Extinction and came back from the Edge of Extinction to have an epic finale, but definitely one of the more controversial wins we've seen in the show. How do you feel about it being on this all-winner season? And how do you think that somebody can use it maybe differently than you, or the same way you used it?
Good question. So I think to answer the first part of that, I definitely don't think they needed it. I don't think that it would have done anything better or worse for the trajectory of this season, and based on the players they have, because all the players are so good that I don't know if it was anything. We'll see, but I think it may not have added or subtracted from the overall gameplay. I think they by themselves, the players themselves, would have been incredible to watch without the need for Edge of Extinction, for sure. With that being said, though, it's kind of besides the point now, because it does exist and all the players have to navigate that. The big difference right off the bat that I can see is just the fact that I know that our season of Edge of Extinction was the like mad scientist kind of like experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And when you experiment with something, there's really no expectation. Like it's not something where you know what's going to happen. You kind of do it and then you figure out, hey, we did it. What was really good about it and what was really bad about it. And so 2 seasons later, the second rendition of The Edge of Extinction is much better. And it's just because now there's a reason to play. There's a reason that you have to be careful about who you vote out, how you vote them out. When you're on the edge of extinction, you have to be careful how you interact with other people. You have to be careful how you play fire tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is an extension of the game. And there are so many players that I love on this season. Selfishly, I do enjoy that they all are going to be able to potentially win. I mean, $2 million is a lot of money. So it's like they still have that shot to win all the way till the end. And that's obviously a big critique. Like they got voted out. They shouldn't be able to have a chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
But the Edge of Extinction kind of gives us a little bit more from each contestant. And I love watching these people so much. A lot of these players, this is going to be their last time playing Survivor ever. Right. So I don't care. Like, I don't care if the Edge of Extinction exists or not. I think it's going to be fun television, and they are going to really it's going to suck. I mean, just the last episode, Natalie was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think it was this far up the mountain. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, that thing sucked. Like the Edge of Extinction sucks.
Is it the same island
people
that
at
it
home,
was when you were
it's
there?
the same island.
Wow.
Yes. They used the exact same island. And that was actually interesting to me because I thought they were going to choose another island, like a different Edge of Extinction, but they used the same one. And that hike up to the very top to get the food every day or get those like reward challenges or like find things, it's like legitimately a mile uphill from where you are. And when you're on a Survivor diet, that gets harder and harder and harder every single day.
I believe it.
So.
And so like you said, it seems like it's better. It seems like there's a little bit more purpose to it. Whereas you guys were just sitting out there on the island and hoping things were going to come. Now it's all being kind of laid out for them. And like Natalie Anderson tweeted the other day, she's like, okay, maybe I do like Edge of Extinction, because you obviously don't want it there if you're not going to get voted out. Like I'm sure Julie and Gavin and Lauren and all them, they hate the idea, but you love the idea because you won because of it. So like, I think it all really is going to depend. I just don't think the winners ultimately will end up voting for somebody who comes back from Edge of Extinction to win. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I agree 1,000%. It will be nearly impossible for someone to win coming back from the Edge of Extinction. Like they would have what they would have had to have done is the only way that I think it would work is if they played an incredibly dominant game or just a strong game, like before they got voted out. Then they got voted out. Let's say they get voted out anywhere between like 8th and 12th. And that was a big critique of my season and me ended up eventually winning was just because I got voted out 3rd. That was like a badge of dishonor.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had to battle through that because there were a lot of people that were pissed because I won having only been in the game for 3 tribal councils, right? In the very beginning. A player that's going to have a good, strong game throughout and then get blindsided or get taken out because their alliance, got whittled down. They may get voted out and then come back. But the difference is that player has the ability to win immunity challenges and then eventually win the season because they held out as long as they could in that in-between time or getting back into the game. For me, because my resume was so small, I had to lose immunity challenges to then create the resume that I needed. That was a lot based on my social gameplay and my strategic gameplay and, taking a big chance at the very end. A player that has all of the things already built from the beginning can potentially come in, win a couple immunity challenges, and then win the show.
Yeah.
But again, it's really hard to win those last 3 all in a row because they're very different aspects of a challenge. Like most of the time it's a puzzle, sometimes, and then it's a physical challenge, and then it's an endurance challenge. Like it varies. for me, I was like, I was bad at puzzles, you know, anyways. So it's, you know, I was not going to win it regardless, probably. But that's the biggest difference. I think someone could win, but they'd have to have a good game from before getting on the edge and then win out.
Maybe they could, like, if they got screwed in the Sari Fields way, where Sari doesn't even get a vote and just gets voted out because there's nobody else who can go home that day. If that were to happen to somebody like, let's say, Yule, who came out really strong in this first episode, if he were to play a great game, go home at 7 because of that, get back in the game at 6. I mean, he really only went home because of some crazy rule that was there. Maybe they give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt. But I think anybody in these first few episodes, like Natalie or Amber now, the only way they would have a chance to win is if they got back in at the merge. I don't think that somebody who gets voted out pre-merge will be able to work their way on Edge of Extinction like you did, get all the way to, and then come back into the game in the last challenge and still be able to win the game. I think it's going to be somebody who is at least playing the game post-merge, like the regular game, not the Edge of Extinction game.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the only shot. The only other thing I can think of is if they have a really strong alliance, like some of their original alliance members are still in, and then they find a way to vote out those alliance members, and then there's like, you know, who's the lesser of three evils? Yeah, potentially, right? But I think because the winners season, there's so many good players, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to have a very deserving winner by the end of this thing.
And I think there's no loyalty anywhere. Considering that the wife was just voted out, I think any form of loyalty is gone.
Yeah. And so I was reading Gordon Holmes's recap of everything, and he was talking about how actually at Tribal Council, Jeff was trying to get people to talk about Edge of Extinction. Everybody was really negative on it, and Jeff was getting kind of annoyed. And he said he said this was like a behind the scenes tidbit. But while a lot of the fans were very annoyed, Chris, I think what you said earlier, and Gordon Holmes said this in his recap, was this feels like the end of an era. This is probably, I would say, 99% of the time, this is the last time we're going to see Boston Rob, the last time we're going to see Sandra, the last time we're going to see Parvati, probably the last time we're going to see Tyson. Like, I really think that maybe Ethan can make a little bit of a comeback, but there's a lot of players who have been on our TV so many times that it really does feel like the last time. And if it's going to be the last time, even if it's frustrating to me that maybe they're sitting over on an island and I don't believe they should be able to get back in the game and win and impact the game too greatly, I still want to get as much out of all of them as I possibly can, because this like Heroes Villains felt like the last time for a couple people, but this really feels like the last time for a lot of these players. So I say milk it for all it's worth. Like that's all I feel. Yeah.
As a fan, I don't care. Like as a fan, I rather like see these people create really good television, and like I don't care. Like I'm gonna miss them whenever I don't get to see them anymore. You know, so let them go out there on the edge and give me extra footage, and I'm happy.
Yep. Exactly. And I don't think it'll end up taking away too much, because this first episode was incredibly edited. For anybody who's in our prop bet game, nobody got 10 confessionals over the course of that 2 hours. These are 20 of the biggest personalities like this show's ever had. And yeah, we can argue that they're not all big personalities, but you know, all these people won their season. None of them got Natalie White type edits where they pretty much got 0. And nobody here got more than 10 confessionals, because it was just even across the board. Yeah, there were some people who didn't have as much. Wendell didn't have as much. You know, maybe Michelle didn't have as much. But right across the board, it was like, no, we're going to let you get to know all of these people. We want them to all have their moment on this season, because it is that epic. And I think they're going to be able to navigate it with Edge of Extinction too. I really do.
Yeah, I agree.
And Alexa's got a siren going off. Alexa, how you feeling? You're getting bombarded by the sun and a siren?
Yeah, I've been kind of silent, trying to figure out what to do, because there's definitely a fire across the street. So I keep muting and unmuting myself, and I can't see. So I'm going to let you guys talk and actually close my blinds real quick.
Yeah, do that.
I'll be back in about 30 seconds.
Alexa's going to get a sunburn doing a podcast inside. Well, Chris,
if everyone's watching, her hand is up on the screen. She's like blocking the sun with her hand.
She's just got to do that for like a solid hour and 15 minutes. It's no big deal. She'll be fine. She'll have great shoulders by the end of it, though. Great shoulders.
Yeah, it's a good workout. It's an endurance workout.
It is.
Training for Survivor.
It is. And she's sitting back down.
So much better.
She's alive. All right, she's back.
I wanted to have this aimed at my at my pillow because I didn't need everyone to see the inside of my room. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hello. We're back. We were just talking about how great your arms and shoulders would have been had you had to just sit there like this the entire time. So.
Oh yeah, I would.
You would have been Parvati.
much.
Oh my gosh, you would have been Parvati in real life. Parvati 2.0.
Yeah,
I would have
holding
been
the hand
Parvati
over the
9.0
head.
at this point.
I can do it.
Parvati 9.0.
We've been like, Alexa, what's going on? He's like, I'm just meditating over here, guys.
Just meditating.
Good,
Go to
good.
give the high five, can't even do it.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part of that whole thing. They go to high five at the end and both their arms just fall forward. Well, so we're going to do our power rankings here this is the longest one. So Chris, you got a big task ahead of you. There's 18 people that we all got to rank. As this goes on, these get shorter. People don't have as much to worry about here. There's probably not going to be a lot to say about everybody, but because you know who all of the players are, you've seen them all win. Maybe it'll make it a little bit easier to go through all 18. Normally when we do 18, it's like these 6 people, I don't even know if they exist. So that always makes it difficult. But Chris, do you want to do the honors of starting this off with your number 1, or do you want somebody else to kind of lead the way here?
Yeah, you cut out a little bit there, so repeat the last maybe 10 seconds.
10 seconds. All I was saying was either you can take the lead and you can be the first person to go here, or Alexa or I could take the lead. But this is the safest person. Number 1 is who you think is the safest, and that's what we want to emphasize to the people who are competing in the Power Rankings Patreon game. Number 1 is the safest. So if you want to start with that.
Yeah. You want me to start? Okay. I'll start top to bottom. So I separated my power rankings into 4 groups because it's really tough to like narrow down one. So I have like 1 through 4, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, and 16 and 17 and 18. But I had to put a number 1 on there. I really, really wanted to put like a Jeremy or like a Sarah up there. I just don't think they're going to make it all the way. So I have to say the number 1 safest, I'm going with Sophie.
Sophie's a good pick. I have Sophie very high up as well.
I too have Sophie.
Yes,
very,
Sophie's
very high.
number 1. It's between Sophie and number 1, Sophie, number 2 is Michelle.
Okay.
And those are my number 1 and number 2.
I can get behind that. So let's talk about Sophie first, because Alexa, I know you're high on Sophie right now, and I'm also high on Sophie. Give us your take on Sophie, what you thought before she was coming in and now. Like, did you ever dream that after the premiere of Survivor Winners at War, you'd be like, Sophie, number 1, like, gotta do it?
No, but I didn't but I also know how kind of Survivor works, and it typically will reward the person that is very, very unassuming. Like Sophie reminds me a lot of Victoria or other players of that cast type, in the sense that she's never going to be flashy. She's not a physical threat. She's very cerebral in how she plays the game and thinks about the game, but she's going to be someone in the middle of an alliance where they may assume that they're calling the shots and she's going along with it. But I think slowly along the way, she's got the social capital with that group. I mean, she's going to do really, really well if she keeps her head down and just plays the middle of the pack until the very end. I really think so.
I mean, that's exactly where I stand on her too. And I think Yul sought her out. I think even before the game started, Yul wanted to work with her. So I think and that's how she won her first time, being the person who's in the pack, but doesn't seem like she's the one doing anything. And I think she's in a really good spot, because I think people aren't super intimidated by Yul, even though he had like probably one of the best premieres out of anybody to ever play.
Yeah.
But I think no one's going to be looking at Sophie, and I think no one was looking at her going in. So I think that says a lot about her longevity. Yeah.
And so Yul was a clear MVP from all the votes we got. Although we got a lot of votes, we got the most comments we'd ever had on a YouTube video on our premiere recap. But Yul was the MVP, but I think Sophie, I wasn't sure if she'd be able to play the same game twice. And looks like she's going to play the exact same game. And she's going to find her person that she can kind of hide behind, who will take a lot of the heat, and she's going to quietly play a better game. Now, right now, I think Yul probably had a better start than her, But I think that Sophie can easily start to make the claims that she's playing a better game than Yul, even if she sits alongside Yul the entire game and sits with him at Final Three, just like she did to Coach and just like she did to Albert. I think there's a way that she can just be like, look, he did really well, but I did so much better, and make the same type of compelling argument that she made the first time she played.
Yeah, it's really hard to win if you have a really good start.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're going to eventually, people will remember that you had a really good start. Mm-hmm. Typically they remember that 2 to 3 votes after the merge.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a good start, you'll make merge, but it's really hard if you're a front runner, because they're like, all right, who are the front runners? And typically all the front runners go out like 5th through 8th.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to talk about Michelle a lot, obviously, because I can't help myself. And we'll talk about why you have her at number 2. But Alexa, who's your number 1 first here?
My number 1 is actually on the other tribe. My number 1 is Ben Driebergen, with or without an idol. I think he is in a bit of a swing position. And I actually think him not being able to handle Boston Rob was, 1, amazing to watch. And 2, I think that really brings his threat level down. And I think the way that the Natalie vote went, everyone's looking at Rob and Parvati. And everyone's now thinking, oh my God, how did I not think to go for them earlier? Ben is aligned with them and he voted with them, but he's not this intimidating old schooler. He's not them. He's not Danny. He's not Ethan. So I think he can kind of flip-flop whichever way he wants. And he's playing like a fan. And I think in a season like this and at this exact moment, that's really not a bad thing.
Yeah,
I have been so low.
Really good.
Really?
Oh no, I feel so bad because I'm so low. Chris, like, don't give away where you have Ben, but what are you feeling?
I feel that Ben is, because of Ben's blunder, he created space that's really valuable. I mean, he's playing the dummy. Like, even whether he's like acknowledging or like doing it with intent or not, he played like a dummy move. And that actually is like pretty good. It's a good strategy on Survivor. I mean, like, I played a dummy move. Like I was playing like a real ditz, like to Lauren and to Julie. And that was part of the reason Julie was more suspicious, I think, than Lauren was. But when you seem like you're a bad strategic player, people write you off in their mind. And when you get written off in your mind, you just have room to make moves that go unsuspected. And so I think Ben, because of that, he could play like, oh my gosh, I'm so bad at Survivor. This game is not for me. These guys are moving way too fast. A lot like Ethan. I mean, Ethan played a lot of the rhetoric we heard from Ethan was, this game is so fast. I have so much anxiety. Like, I don't really know what to do. It's a good strategy.
Great strategy.
It's a good strategy. So I think they're both, whether he's playing it or not, it's smart.
And the reason I've been lower, more towards the middle, like lower middle to bottom, I have been. But the reason I have him down there is because I worry about the old school alliance. And we saw a lot of praise for the old schoolers in this episode. You know, Ethan having to figure it out, and Boston Rob, Danny, Parvati. Boston Rob had that great sentence of, this is what the new schoolers don't do. They don't just sit down and have a conversation. Mm-hmm. And I think that Adam and Denise could easily go and work with the old schoolers, because at first they got off to a bad start, but I could see them sitting there and saying, all right, I'll work with you. And now all of a sudden, Ben, even though he's kind of playing, I could see Ben going from, I don't really know what's going on, to, he's actually kind of might be messing up the game and we can't tell where he's going to go. So that's why I have him a little bit lower, because I feel like the old school alliance is actually what's going to come through on that tribe. But obviously my number 1, right? I mean, obviously it's Michelle, right? Everybody's assuming that, but I'm actually not going to put Michelle at number 1 for only the second time in the entire history that she's played Survivor. So Chris, that's just your history lesson there. But Alexa, I'm not putting Michelle at number 1, so you can smile and be happy. I would have done it, but you got to give the props to the old schoolers when the old schoolers are as good as they were. And so my number 1 is Yul and my number 2 is Ethan, because what Yul did in that episode was incredible. It was like, I was worried about him coming out there. I was worried that he wouldn't live up to any hype. I was worried he'd be in maybe a little over his head or just would be too cerebral. And because that was always his biggest knock in Cook Islands was he's too cerebral. Like he's boring, whatever. Yul was awesome in this first episode, and watching Ethan and the story Ethan's going with right now, where it was, I had to survive cancer to get to this moment. And now I'm here and everybody's running circles around me. And one of the best shots of the entire episode is when Ethan is chasing after whoever down the path. And it's like, he is this lost puppy, but he's going to figure it out. And I think he is leaning into it hard. I don't think he's as lost or as confused as he really is, but the easiest way to make everybody else believe it is if you yourself can start to believe it. So I love Ethan at 2. So I go Yul 1 and Ethan at number 2.
I think Ethan is having the time of his life. Like, I think he's I think you're right. I think he is a lost puppy, but I think he's playing the lost puppy, but he's having so much fun doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. You can tell. There was a secret scene where he was like regurgitating rice for everyone.
Disgusting. It was like his nose.
What is that?
Like, that's
so weird.
Are you actually getting more food that way? I don't know. I watched that 3 times.
Dude, if I ever meet him, he's like, Mama Bird, what's up?
I want to like huck up some food and like spit it into my mouth.
Chris, I always say that the first time I met Chris, we sat down next to each other at Margaritaville and I ate next to Chris. And no, Chris does not regurgitate his food. I will have to say, I probably don't want to have that same meal next to Ethan. I don't think I'd want that to happen. There's no freaking way. It's disgusting. But so everybody's loving it though, right? Nobody dislikes Ethan. Everybody's loving Ethan right now. There's no way Ethan goes home anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. I think he's good. He's my in the first quadrant. He's in that. He's top 5 for me. So
I think we might have the same top quadrant here because I have Michelle at 3 and Sophie at 4. So
yep. We'll see how the top quadrant plays out. That's the real test. Does the grouping? Yeah, it's precision and accuracy, right? It's all there in the same little quadrant, just grouped together.
Yeah.
Boom.
I love that. I never really ever break it down that way. So
who's number 3 for you guys?
I'm actually gonna go through I'm gonna go down to 4 because we've kind of covered most of my top 4. My number 2 is Denise, and I know that she was on the outside, and I know that she and Adam did the worst thing you can ever do on Survivor, which is leave camp on the first 3 days. But I think the targets are going to be bouncing around so much this season that Denise and Adam are already such an afterthought. And I think all the targets are going to be on Rob and Parvati, because I think Jeremy's going to go on a warpath, and that could include Danny, that can include a little bit of Ethan. Denise and Adam, like I feel like they're not going to be thinking about them. They just did the cardinal sin of Survivor, and then we're already on 4, 5, and 6. So I think Denise is fine. And then I have Yul at number 3 and Sophie at number 4. And I know we've already talked about them, so I just wanted to clear them out.
Yeah, interesting. I'd have to disagree on Denise, but
this is good. My 1 and 2 are very different from your guys.
Yeah, I have to. I agree. I think that it is if you can weather the storm on an early, like if you have votes going your way early, sometimes you get through that vote and you actually last a lot longer had you not had votes thrown at you. And it's just because there's so many targets and the game moves fast nowadays that you become an afterthought. But I still think that because there's this battle between old school and new school and who's who, and they also at the same time, you want to keep shields in the game, you want to keep big threats in the game. I think Denise is still in the middle as a potential easy vote. So I actually have her in the very bottom. I mean, she's not the last, but I have her at 17. So, and I just think it's
Ben and Denise very low.
Yeah, the person in the middle is definitely the easy vote, and I think. Sorry, I'm getting sirened right now.
Getting sirened. You got sirened.
I'm totally losing my train of thought on this. Oh my god.
Focus, Alexa. It's not that hard.
I'm gonna have to really stream. It's kind of like what happened with Natalie, like Natalie and Jeremy were not making decisions, and everyone was like, fine, why don't we just get rid of her? So I totally get you guys potentially seeing that in Denise.
Yep.
Yeah. And I have Denise very low. So I'm happy Alexa put them very high.
Yeah. So my top 5 in that first, the safe quadrant is Sophie number 1, Michelle number 2, Danny 3, Ethan 4, and Jeremy barely, but Jeremy 5. My top 5.
All right. Let's start with
I think
Michelle.
Jeremy's going to bounce
and then
back
we'll talk.
well. You're right.
I agree. So I want to start Michelle though, because I had her at 3. Alexa, you had Sophie at 4, right? We both had Sophie at 4. Yeah, okay. So let's start with Michelle though, because I have her at 3. Chris, you have her at 2. She was on the wrong side of the vote at the first vote. The first vote, Jeremy and Natalie on the wrong side. Natalie goes home, but then Michelle was the only other person to vote incorrectly. I'm confident in Michelle because I just think that this is the type of game she plays. She's not going to be a big threat right away or anything like that. But do you actually feel good about Michelle's chances moving forward despite being on the wrong side of the only tribal she's gone to so far?
Yes, I do. And I think it's because she potentially I just think she's really good at building alliances. I think she's good at playing it safe, kind of having bigger targets in front of her, but her aligning with those targets. And she's just she's just a good player. She just reminds me of someone who is always seeing, not always being the first to speak, but always listening to what everyone else is saying. I don't know. I like her as a player. I like her chances. And I think she goes really far in this game. I really do. It's almost like because she didn't get that much, she didn't get that much screen time. I almost have a feeling she's going to go far.
And it felt like the screen time she did get, it was right after she is on the wrong side of the vote, and she instantly realizes, like, I got to do something different. And we don't always get that confessional from a person on the wrong side of the vote. We don't always get I need to really sit down. What's going on? She's talking about how her head is spinning at that first tribal. Michelle, to me, feels like the type of player who's going to get that kind of redemption arc of like kind of what Nick Wilson got his first time, where it's I'm starting out and I'm starting out as rocky as I can, and now here I go. And now I'm just going up. And I feel like that's what Michelle is kind of going to get here, especially since the first thing we really hear from her on this season is my head is spinning. I don't know what's going on. Cut to her and Aubrey and Ty sitting next to each other and her saying, people don't think I should have won. And then her saying, and now I'm on the wrong side of the vote. I have so much pressure on me. It really does feel like she's going to get that arc of like, okay, I went from none of you thought that I deserved to win to now I'm finding my footing and I'm doing everything I can to stay in this game and make it deep.
Yep. I agree.
So
I think she's going to be she's going to have a really interesting storyline, really interesting arc this season.
And
so yeah, she's number 3. She's number 2 for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there you go. We and then you have Danny at 3. So Danny's another one, had a rough start. Mentions Boston Rob's name. Ben runs over, tells Boston Rob, and then Boston Rob comes back and Danny immediately says, yeah, I did do that.
Amazing.
Alexa, how far down do you have Danny? Yeah, I agree. I don't have her very low. And as I was doing these power rankings, I was like, man, why do I have Danny so high? I didn't have her quite as high as 3, but what is it that we like love about Danny here?
I just love her. Like she's someone who I just like selfishly would put really high, but I do not have her in the range that we're currently talking about, but not because of episode 1, because yes, she mentioned Boston Rob's name, as did everybody, but she had like the best possible bounce back I've ever seen someone have from that kind of confrontation. So that is affected in the rankings, but I love her. Like, I'm so happy we're seeing her. I love that her first confessional, she doesn't even talk about herself. She just says Survivor Guatemala season 11 because it like doesn't exist. But yeah, I'll get to like why I have Danny where I do once we get to her.
Yeah, because I have Jeremy a lot lower. I have Danny high. So it's funny, Alexa, you said you think Jeremy's going to bounce back too. You and Chris are on the same page on that one. I have him much lower, but Danny, I'm on the same page as Chris. I'm like, she's looking like she's going to figure this out. Her and Ethan are very similar. It's like, what the hell's going on? But they're smart. Like these people did win a season of Survivor.
Danny's 3, Ethan's 4. Danny's 3, Ethan's 4 for me. So like, I think that, yeah, you're right on. They're playing this like oh my gosh, this game is so crazy. It's changed so much. But they've got a finger on it. They're smart. Like they know what they're doing.
Absolutely. My number 5 is Nick Wilson. So like, aw shucks, Nick. He comes out and his first confessional here is whoever's going to win this season is really going to understand how fire tokens are used. And I am a new school player, so I know how to make these advantages work. And I'm like, damn, this guy's going to have something to do with the fire tokens on this season. Like it just screamed that to me. So I put him at 5 and then I had Danny at 6. So not too far away from Nick, but Nick isn't, there's that alliance of 6 of Yul, Sophie, Sandra, Sarah, and then Wendell and Nick. And I feel like Nick, despite the fact that he's not close with Sophie or Yul and Sophie are like the leaders, Sarah and Sandra are right next in line, and then Wendell and Nick are kind of on the outside looking in, but they're in the alliance. Nick is so much less threatening than Wendell as a player. And I think just because people look at Wendell like he's so nice, he's so great, he's going to get every vote, nobody really looks at Nick that way. So I really like Nick's chances in this game. I think he every mistake he made his first season, he learned from and did such a 180 how to start a game of Survivor. I thought he did great. So I love him at number 5.
Yeah, I've got number Nick. Actually, Nick is in my lowest tier. Nick is 16 for me.
Wow.
And I think it's because, and here's the reason why is because if a swap comes, I think Nick's going to be a player that gets swap screwed. Mm-hmm. I think that if there's a swap, he doesn't have as much of a relationship or a history as maybe some of these other players do. And that may work for his advantage, but he kind of reminds me of like a Jason. And I know that he's already been gunned for. And some of the people were like, I don't really like the way that Nick plays. I don't really have a relationship with him. I have an alliance with him. And with some of these, just with such a mix between like old school and new school, depending on his tribe, he may get swap screwed. Mm-hmm. I mean, he may get just get voted out because he's, he's someone that just is like the odd one out, like a Wendy or from my season or like a Aubrey. I just don't see him if he gets in an alliance or if he gets in a tribe that's, split up into 3, that he's going to be one of the people that makes it. But that's just it was a tough decision. I mean, we have 18 players. You got to rank one, there's got to be a top, there's got to be a bottom. So for me, he's at the bottom right now because I think just other players have better chances.
And my logic could be entirely wrong because Nick could make a huge impact on the game with fire tokens and just do it from Edge of Extinction. So my logic of him being top 5, maybe I should actually have him down at 16 or 17 and he's going to have this impact, but doing it after being voted out. So who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, we forget like the fire tokens are deadly. I mean, that's a dagger. Like Sandra's got an idol episode 1, from the Edge of Extinction. Like we don't even know how this is going to affect the power rankings or the future of this game, but it's going to make a big difference.
And she has an expiration date idol, which are always they're tough. They're tough to play.
Yeah, they are tough to play. Because a lot of the times you don't need an idol in your first 3 tribals,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But she's a player that also is hot on the on the radar for a lot of players. They do not want her to win.
I think for Sandra, what the problem with Sandra is she's not going to be in danger until a little bit later, at least from what I saw. It seems like people want to use her as a shield. So her getting this idol that's only good for 3 tribals, that would be a good one maybe for Boston Rob, which we'll get to him in a bit because I have him very high, which is shocking. But I have Boston Rob very high, but because he's always going to be the name that comes out of people's mouths. And it's like, well, maybe we should get rid of Boston Rob because he can really turn this game on its head. Sandra's got that Cerie feel to her where it's like, we can get rid of her whenever. She's never going to win a challenge. So let's just vote her out whenever we can.
Yeah.
And so that's why I don't think that this idol really helps Sandra at all, but I do have her incredibly high because she has an idol at the end of everything, and there's no way she's going home this week or next week. So I'm surprised none of us actually had Sandra in like our top 5.
Yeah, it's true. But who knows with Sandra, just because like her gameplay is so like wishy-washy. I mean, she's she's played enough where everyone knows what she's about. And it's hard to play with someone that going into it is going to tell the other person every time. Like if they tell the other alliance where you're going, and she's swinging in the middle and she's, spreading truth, rumors, and lies, it's hard to play with a player like that. And I don't know if it's going to work her third, fourth time around. It's just, I have her pretty low just because of that. Like she's a tough person to play with at this point in the game because you already know what she does.
Yeah. Now, Alexa, who's your number 5?
My number 5 is Ethan. So kind of following the whole, like, Ethan's going to do, I think Ethan not only is going to be safe this week, but I think he has some longevity. And I think it's because crazily, as the person from the oldest quote unquote season, he's the one acting like the youngest kid right now. And it's perfect and it's working. And I think if he was playing super diabolical, people would be looking at him the way they're looking at Parvati and Rob. And Parvati and Rob are not in my top 5. So I have Ethan at number 5, and then I have Adam at number 6. And I have Adam up high just for the same reasons that I have Denise. I think the target's going to move off Adam quickly. And Adam did a really great job of getting that target off of him in the first place.
Yeah, he really did.
Adam, something very underrated about what Adam did in this episode too is he didn't even get the second most votes. So for somebody who looked like they were in a lot of trouble, I don't know how much impact he had on that, but it was Denise who would have went had Natalie had an idol. And I know Adam, as a huge super fan, knows how quickly idols can come into the game and everything like that. I wonder how much impact he had on making sure there was no way he was going to that tribal council thinking, okay, I'm going to get the second most votes. And we know for the most part, people go into tribal councils and know that they're not getting the most votes or know they are getting the most votes. But I bet you he knew he wasn't getting the second most votes as well. So I think he had a really good episode. I think, some of the hate from haters into love, because I thought he had a really great rebound here. I have him a little bit lower though, than 6, but not much at all. Chris, who's your 6?
What do you have in that?
I have my number 6 was Danny.
What was Adam at?
I have Adam down at 9. So just a little bit lower, not much lower, but I have him down at 9.
So we're all in the second quadrant, the semi-safe, right? We are. So Adam's 8. Adam's 8 for me. So right in the middle of the pack. 6 is Sarah. So my 6, I'll just go ahead and lay out like my 6 through 10, and like we'll just pick apart. But Sarah's at 6, Wendell's at 7, Adam's at 8, Tyson's at 9, and Yule's at 10. So just talking about like that top part, Sarah, I think I have Sarah at 6 just because I think she's a good player. She's a very good player, but she's also because she's a good player, she's also a threat to win. And this season is really keen on those types of players. Like I think for Sarah, she'd be one of those 4 front runners that gets voted out because it's almost like chronological order. This person has a really good chance of winning, so we have to vote him out. This person has a really good chance of winning, so we have to vote him out. This person has a really good chance of winning, so we have to vote him out. Like that happens in sequence. And so that I have Sarah at 6. She'd go far, but she's still in some trouble.
So you have Tyson here. So let's break down quad 2 here. You have Tyson ahead of Yule, which I'm kind of surprised at. What is it that makes you low on Yule more so than even high on Tyson?
I think because Yule is a very loyal player, and I think Yule could get into trouble as if his alliance starts to go down. If it starts to go downhill, he would be one of those players to get the boot. Tyson is a little more shifty, and I think Tyson could get used until he's not needed, and that's why I have Tyson a little bit further ahead than Yule, just because of loyalty. If you're very loyal to an alliance, but your alliance is on the outs, you're also perceived as a threat, you don't do too well. No one wants Tyson to win, I don't think, but he can be used to go one way or the other. Like, as long as it's not me, I don't want to get voted out. I'm scared right now. Like, my plan's, shot. Who do I vote for? But he's also kind of slippery. He may not be as trustworthy as, some of the other players. So I just have him a little bit ahead, but I don't think he has a shot at winning.
Yeah, I think Tyson, though, had a really good first episode for sure. A lot of stuff about his daughters. He had the line about the victory in the battle to concede or to win the war. He had to concede this battle or something like that. Mm-hmm. Was quick to just change his strategy. I thought he had a good first episode, but I do agree. I don't think it's going to be long enough for him to actually win the game. Alexa?
Yeah, where he had a really good confessional where he said, I was the one trying to lead the alliance. And as soon as I heard my name, I completely shifted to survival mode. That's like, we've never heard someone just like say that they've had to completely switch like that. And he was completely okay with it. He handled it really well. So again, that shows that we're watching a bunch of winners play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Who can adapt to anything thrown their way. So I already said Adam was my number. So my 7 and 8 are Sandra and
Frozen.
I know I totally froze. Everybody else just start speaking. I watched myself disappear.
A lot of suspense on your number 8.
It was Boston Bobby at number 8.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, I want to make sure I'm like, I know that there's a little delay here now because of whatever just happened, so I'll just kind of like go with it and see what happens, but I know there's a little bit of a delay in what I'm saying. But Sandra, I have at 7 because she has an idol. There's no way she's going home. If she's gonna know she's gonna get votes, she's gonna play her idol. She knew last time she wasn't getting votes. I think even back in Game Changers when she went, she didn't really necessarily know it was her, but she had a pretty good feeling it was going to be her. She was hoping it wasn't going to, but had she had an idol that night, I think she plays an idol. I got Rob at 8 because his number 1 ally is on Edge of Extinction, just gave him a token, and we saw how easy it was for Natalie to hand Sandra an idol. And now if they lose, his tribe loses, and it's a similar situation where it's, hey, and give an idol to anybody on the other side. Who do you want to give it to? Like on the losing tribe, who you want to give it to? She's going to give it to Rob. And Rob, at most, would have to pay 2 tokens for it, considering Sandra just paid 1. Rob might only even have to pay 1, but he's got the 2 tokens to be able to purchase it with. So if he's given the same opportunity if Amber's given the same opportunity Natalie was just given, it's a no-brainer. She gives it to Rob, and Rob is in no trouble at all. And I think that might be the situation if his tribe loses first in this next challenge. So I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good about Rob's chances, at least right now, because the only thing we've seen so far is that Edge of Extinction is to give advantages to people in the game in order to get tokens. Rob has 2 tokens and has his wife on Edge of Extinction. That sounds like a win-win for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, having her just being able to consistently feed him advantages is going to be really good. That's true. I didn't consider that as much.
Yeah, it's going to be good, but Rob isn't. I don't see Rob as a player who like effectively uses his advantages the right way. He depends a lot more on like his slyness and his social game more than properly using idols or advantages or whatever else. So, and he would keep. I think to have an idol and to play it correctly, you need someone who you can ping ideas off of. And he's too. A lot of the times, like when we see an idol played correctly, it's someone else like in that alliance. Either the idol gets spilled or there's one other person that really knows about it and they play it well. It's hard to like put all that together without getting an idol or talking to someone about idol or someone else knowing you have an idol. I don't see Rob working with someone else on advantages. I think he would keep those to himself and try to, trust his own instincts and play them, and it may not work out.
That's also a very good point. And I think that's true. I mean, remember, he did throw the thing into the volcano in Redemption Island because he was that confident. So that did happen. I just think right now where he's set up, I think he's feeling good about his alliance. I think he's feeling good about the old schoolers. I think him and Parvati realize they need each other. Him and Ethan are just, kind of buddy right now. Him and Danny, it looks like they kind of bridge that gap. Looks like Ben is already like, oh, damn, I messed up. I need to work with you now. he's got the majority, really, no matter where he spins here. And I think because his wife is out of the game, if they're thinking a swap is coming, nobody's really as scared of Boston Rob anymore. And it's kind of what has worked for him so well in the past, despite the fact, and I give him a hard time all the time because he didn't make the jury twice, didn't make the merge once, and only made, and then like gets to the final his second time playing, but then doesn't win till his fourth time. So he's got like this weird thing, but in Heroes Villains, he did a great job of making everybody like him. It's just Russell and Parvati completely owned Coach. I mean, that's just really what it came down to. But Rob did a really good job of building relationships with people, and we're seeing how good he is again and making these old schoolers feel like, look, it's not me. We're in this together. It's all of us. We got to take down these new school people. It's a great pitch. If I'm Ethan, I'm like, damn, I'll work with Boston Rob. I know who Boston Rob is. We've been around. I mean, they played back-to-back seasons. They played on the same season. That sounds good to me. Like, let's do it. And I think it's working right now. Do I think Boston Rob is going to be sitting there at final 10 without having been voted out? No. But I think right now it's going to work for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think people, again, there's something about Boston Rob where there's that charm. We saw what he did to Ben. And I think Parvati obviously has that, but I think we saw Boston Rob doing more of the relationship building and more of the mind tricks last week than we did Parvati doing that. So, I mean, between him and Parvati, people would happily gun for both of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have them both in the third quadrant.
Okay. So not quite in complete
safe.
danger. Yeah.
Not so safe. Yeah. Not in complete danger, but the not so safe, like, pre-merge blindside scenarios.
Yeah. And then Alexa, since you've kind of fallen behind her, so we know Chris is second quadrant. I'm almost up to Chris. I did my number 9. Who's your 6, 7, 8, 9, 10?
Yeah, I'll go up to my 10. So my 6 was Adam.
Mm-hmm.
My 7 is Sandra. I am way past the point of putting people who have idols up top because we have seen so many people get voted out with idols now. And Sandra has the expiration date idol. I think she plays very confident games. So again, that idol, that's obviously going to be huge for her. But again, I'm still nervous. I have Wendell at 8, which I probably should have put him lower, but I'm going to stick with it. I have Wendell at 8, Nick Wilson at number 9, and Michelle at number 10. So Michelle is kind of my in-betweener. Wendell, I just didn't see him do anything wrong. I think he's a part of this kind of misfit alliance or no connection alliance that Yule started. I know that it's mostly Yule and Sophie, but I think Wendell's going to fit in really easily with them. I think Wendell will fit in easily with anybody. Nick obviously integrated himself well. My only fear for Michelle is that she didn't have, I don't really know who she's aligned with. And I don't think she really knows who she's aligned with, but I think she can bounce back fine. And I don't why are they going to vote Michelle out right now? Like they're not going to.
Right. Yeah. There's no reason to.
I worry a little bit for Wendell because his confessional was, I want to build more relationships, not shelters. And then even when Yule was kind of bringing Wendell in, it wasn't because he feels comfortable with Wendell. It was just, hey, we kind of need you. Come over here. I feel like right now the problem for Wendell is he's expendable for really everybody out there. I don't have him super low. I mean, I have him, in this next quadrant. But I just worry for him that he's too expendable for too many people, which ultimately becomes more dangerous than being even like names like Boston Rob or something. If you're expendable and you need an easy vote, let's get rid of Wendell. We don't need 6 people in our alliance. 5 will be fine for now. So I do worry for him a little bit. And then just for me to kill my top 10, I have Sarah at number 10. I think Sarah is in that alliance. She's close with Sandra. Everybody was writing her name down before the game began, but there's a reason why all these people win. Doesn't matter how big the target is. They all know how to navigate these targets, except for maybe Kim, but we'll talk about Kim later. So everybody knows how to navigate these targets. And I think Sarah, she's been on the wrong side of numbers before. She's had to, navigate it all. And I think she did a great job, and she's working with people who really want to work with her. Yule and Sophie are not threatened by Sarah, and Sandra loves having Sarah. And remember, Tony's still there. So I don't know. I feel like, when a swap comes, anything that happens, Sarah's going to be in a good position for most of this game, much to the chagrin of Survivor Reddit. So Sarah is going to be eating up screen time. But that's how I end my top 10. So, Chris, if you want to lead us in here. So how many people are in your next tier? Like, how many people are in your, I'm thinking they're okay, but they could go home, as opposed to these people are really in danger?
5.
5. Okay.
Yeah, I have it like 5, 5, 5, 3.
Okay.
Like bottom of the bucket, and then the other 3 quadrants. So yeah, starting off at number 11 is, and these are honestly, this is the toughest. I think this is the toughest section. I think 11 to 15 in this. This is hard just because there's these are the people that you can tell they're threats. You can tell they got some screen time. You can kind of see what game they're playing, but you don't know which, when they would get voted out or what order they'd get voted out, or so they're kind of like collectively that like semi unsafe and for different reasons. But I've got Ben at number 11, Rob at 12, Tony at 13, Kim at 14, and Parvati at 15.
Okay. And then we know you have Nick at 16. So we're only waiting on 2 more for you, but let's talk about these people, and then we'll save the suspense of your 17 and 18. So that you don't just have to sit there and listen to me and Alexa yap for like the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But so let's hear this. So you start this one off with Ben, and then it ends with Parvati. And you have Parvati really ranked the lowest, it seems, out of all of the old schoolers. What is it about Parvati that still makes you not trust Parvati at all?
I can see Parvati get blind. I can see her get blindsided, and she may not realize it. She may not see it coming, but she just kind of fits that mold of like Molly from season. What was that, last season?
Yeah, it was
last
season
ago. Last season, yeah.
Parvati reminds you of Molly. I love it.
As Molly got voted out
Morgan.
because she reminded everybody of Parvati.
Yeah, right. I didn't even realize that till just now. Wow, that's like I guess that just really means my subconscious is putting Parvati at 15, not actually like for any other reason than someone looking like Parvati got voted out at 15. No, Molly, she just like Molly and Morgan and like those cute, flirty players that everyone's like, yeah, we're going to work with you. This is going to be great. And then they're like, I think I'm good. Like, I don't have anyone gunning for me. And then like all of a sudden it just flips like that. And then they get voted out and they're like, what the heck? Like literally all of those cast types were falling in the footsteps of Parvati. And there has really not been any person since Parvati to go far that has had the Parvati cast type.
Right.
Like they just don't. I mean, they are all either like just before merge or just after merge or like a random 3rd, 4th, 5th boot. I mean, like a lot of those players. And it's just because like it's a tough way to win nowadays because people are smart and it's like it's a strategy that is like a surface level strategy that's easily like identified. I think the players that have really good gameplays go 2 to 3 levels deep, and like flirting or having a cute smile is not as endearing in like the overall gameplay of Survivor like it may have been in the first 5, 10, 15 seasons that we've seen.
Because it's so obvious now.
It's so obvious. It's just tough. It's just tough to win with that strategy. You have to develop. And I think the good thing with for Parvati, really, I mean, her saving grace is that she's married and she's got a kid that's 10 months pregnant. So they're like, Parvati's not going to play the same game because she's not, 20 something flirt, right? She's developed as a person. So that could be her saving grace, and maybe it develops, looks different. But I've got her at 15 because I can just see her there. Like if it were to work, if our vote out of Kelly Wentworth had worked, that would be kind of the same thing that if Parvati's like, if she gets voted out, it's going to be from a blind side that, there was 1 or 2 other threats or smoke screens that were in front. And because she's a really good player that wants to get voted, they need to get her out early. There's still other big threats that will stay in the game. She's at that middle tier to bottom.
Yeah, I actually have Parvati at 11. I do think she did a good job of bonding with people here, but I agree with pretty much everything you just said. I don't think she goes this week, but I also think that for Parvati, man, God, if she can pull this off again and get deep into the game and pull the wool over people's eyes, it's like just because she's older doesn't mean she's different. Like, she's still going to have that same, she might not play the same game, but she's just that good of a strategist. So
I'm reading in the comments, I just said a kid that's 10 months pregnant.
You did. And I was laughing at that. And I'm trying not to call you out, but
it's so good.
10 months pregnant, man, dude, that's a messed up household. No, she is just coming off of being pregnant. She's got a 10-month-old, and she's a new mom, and so that could play in her advantage. But she doesn't have a 10-month
That would be impressive.
Kid. That would be impressive.
That would be
so many
wild.
reasons. Yeah, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I have her at spot 11. I can't even say anything else. But yes, I do think though, I mean, the way she bonded with Jeremy right away was about over their kids. And how did you leave them? And how did you do all that? Parvati still got the same, like, hey, we should do this. She's got the same demeanor, but now she's just talking about different things. So at the end of the day, she's not going to be giving Jeremy a piggyback ride, but they're going to bond just as well as she's able to bond with James over something different and over something that's more meaningful to Jeremy. And so, yeah, I think eventually it's going to bite her, but she's Parvati, and man, she was so good. I mean, it's the first time we've seen her in 10 years, and she has not missed a step. She's so good.
When she and Rob were sitting together, and when she was narrating us through that, and she was like, how did they not realize that they're letting us running it? It was so like quintessential Parvati. It was so good. Yeah, you could see her mixing the cauldron. You could just see it happening.
Yeah. It's great TV, and I love watching her. And that also, like, that could totally bite her in the butt. Like, she could get majorly blindsided and be like, wow, didn't see that coming. But just, it's a matter of how smart the other players are. On a non-winner season, I think she'd get farther because she'd have people that would want to work with her for the sake of working with her. But on an all-winner season, it would be tough for her to win.
She's not a huge shield in the sense that Boston Rob is or Sandra is, or so. She's still a great shield, but she's actually too dangerous as a shield.
Yeah, she's a great player to remove from the game because she's a great player and not a perceivable smokescreen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my number 12, and you had him at 13. So, Alexa, I don't know where you have this guy, but I got Tony. I think another one who's a shield and has completely learned from the mistakes he made in Game Changers and is really trying to play a better, smarter, more calm game, which is the way Tony's going to win the season. Like, if he's going to win, it's going to be because he is doing exactly what he's doing now and is able to maintain that for the entire season. Now, whether he is or not, I don't know. But after that first episode, I was incredibly impressed with how Tony came out there and decided he was going to go about this time around.
Yeah. I agree. If he plays level-headed, he's going to make for great TV because every confessional will be like, I'm going crazy. All these guys running around. I just want to go find idols.
I'm on house arrest. That was so good.
The house arrest was fantastic. I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
So funny.
I mean, Alexa, you haven't mentioned Tony yet. Are you like really concerned about Tony still or no?
No, I actually, I'll go to my 13. So, because again, we've covered most of them. I have Danny at 11. So Danny dropped a little bit for me, and it's actually nothing she did. I think she had I think she had a fantastic premiere, but I'm really convinced that people are going to gang up and go against the old schoolers. And I think Danny is going to be like the number 3 who they shoot at, because they're too afraid that Rob and Sandra will have something up their sleeves. That's the only reason I'm a little nervous for her. And then I have Tony at 12 and Jeremy at 13. I think Tony is a shield, yet Tony also needs a shield. So I think he's pretty safe there, but I don't know. Tony is still Tony, and I feel like people are still going to be really scared of him. It's kind of like what happened with Kim. Kim did literally nothing wrong and was like completely ostracized. So I could see that happening to Tony now that this poker thing is kind of done.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that happening as well. I just think like Tony, I think you make a great point. He can be a shield, but he also needs a shield. And I think that's why Tony's not going to go quite yet. I think too many people want to keep Tony around. Now, you don't want to keep Tony around too deep because all of a sudden he starts pulling this crap out of his bag of tricks and you're like, there's nothing we can do anymore. But nobody's also going to go over to the edge of extinction and be giving Tony advantages or tokens or whatever, unless Tony starts piling up tokens, which I just don't see happening. Unless that were to happen, Tony's not going to start getting advantages from people on Edge of Extinction because nobody's going to let him get the type of advantage for doing nothing. And if he's under house arrest and can't get out and look, Tony's not going to be able to play the same game he played in Kagayan, and he's just not going to be as dangerous as he was in Kagayan.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
And then, so I'll do my 13 and 14. At 13, I have Wendell, who we all talked about. I'm not even like low on Wendell. It's just, I'm a little worried because we didn't get much from him. And what we did get kind of was like, I'm trying. And then at 14, I have Tyson, who I actually think had a really good episode, but I still worry with Tyson that he's just a threat and he's always going to be a threat. And if he's able to say like, I'm doing this for my kids and all that, these are things that actually make him more threatening. So I worry for Tyson that he's just going to become too much of a threat. And while it was great for him to just be like, sure, we want to vote out Amber, fine. You want to vote out Kim, fine. But eventually he's going to run out of people who can just be like, sure, I'll just vote them out. And, if that happens, Tyson's in trouble because we know he can win immunities. We know he's got a good story this time. Like you can't let him hang around too long. But I'll keep him at 14 for the time being. And then actually I'll just do my 15 because now I'm looking at it. You both have set him. I have Jeremy, and my reason for putting Jeremy this low is I worry that people know Natalie gave him a fire token. And if that happened, what is that going to mean for him? You know what I mean? Like what's going to happen? What's going to happen for Jeremy if people start to find out like, well, if he's got a fire token, he's a really big guy. I mean, some people are going to want to work with him. Boston Rob probably wants to work with Jeremy because like Jeremy wants to keep around shields and Boston Rob's a great shield. So that would make sense. But I wonder if he's going to run into trouble because people are going to start to think he's got too much coming into him from Edge of Extinction. And Natalie Anderson did tweet and say that had his tribe lost, she would have given him the idol as well as giving him the token. Well, if there's still a chance later on to maybe use a token to give somebody in the game an advantage or get something from that person or whatever, Jeremy still has that token. And if there's a way to get him an idol, she might try to do that. And if that happens, Jeremy's in good shape, but people might start to realize like he's got things coming from the other side, which could be the same thing that hurts him as it could hurt.
Yeah, it could, but
and then my bottom three is just a mess and I've switched them around a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could, but I think that the interesting thing is people, I don't think that any of the players who are in game have their finger on the pulse yet as to what's happening or what's coming from the Edge of Extinction yet. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that there's not a single person out there that has any clue that Sandra has an idol yet right now from the Edge of Extinction. Like, it's just so left field. I really think that it's going to start coming into play late merge. And then if someone does get back into the game merge, they'll realize, holy shit, like this Edge of Extinction has completely, like we had no idea how much power those people had. Let's kick it into hyperdrive now. And I think we'll see a ton of idle play or advantages or, fire tokens come into play after the first player from the Edge of Extinction comes back and lets them know what it's about.
Mm-hmm. The fire tokens, though, they're going to know because Jeff said right off the top that they have to give them around. So still, I mean, if Natalie gets voted out, you got to be thinking she's giving the fire token to Jeremy, and Jeremy's got 2 while everybody else has 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's true.
But it can go either way.
Yeah. But so that same fear of Jeremy having 2 fire tokens is definitely going to be instilled on Boston Rob, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Sorry, Chris. You're good. You're totally good.
Right now. Don't mind me.
No, you're good.
You're totally fine.
Natalie tweeted something interesting, kind of right after she said that she would have given Jeremy the idol if they had gone to tribal council. She gave it to Sandra because it would never. Sandra would definitely buy it. So that's the thing. Like you have to give it to someone who you know is going to want it or might need it. And then she said that would never get traced back to her because what connection did Natalie and Sandra have? None. So that kind of keeps Natalie safe. So I thought that was a really interesting and good choice.
Yeah. Yeah. So Alexa, who's your 14 and 15 then to catch up here?
So my 14 is Kim and my 15 is Tyson. I actually should have probably switched like Kim and Wendell. I think Kim is totally fine. Yul has been, I'm so glad that Yul is playing in the social media era because he's really leaning into the fact that he can like explain everything he's done. And he had said that he and Sophie had approached Kim and told her, you're getting votes. It's not going to be you, but we still want you. And so that like tap on the shoulder that he did to her after the vote was a like, see, I'm with you kind of gesture. So I actually think Kim is totally fine. Tyson, I mean, 15 is still like not great. I'm just nervous for Tyson because yes, the Poker Alliance is like kind of dead, but they said that they were nervous about him because he's Boston Rob's best friend. So I fear that people are just going to try to keep weakening Boston Rob and therefore possibly strengthening him because you're putting all his friends at the edge of extinction. They're going to try to weaken him by getting rid of Tyson.
My dad texted me the next morning and was like, I hate Survivor. They're rigging this for Boston Rob to win. So I don't believe that, but that's just like the instant like feeling here is why so many people like Boston Rob. And if they keep going to edge of extinction, is he just going to keep getting things? And my dad's going to be pissed. Okay. Survivor producers.
Sorry,
he's not going to
Dad.
be happy.
You can tweet that to Jeff. I'm sure he'll read it.
You think he'll read it? I'll just tweet it at Jeff, Van Wagenen, all of them. Just be like, what the hell, guys? Like, my dad's pissed off because Boston Rob getting too many advantages.
They'll definitely know.
But if my dad is seeing that as somebody who can't even remember the name of half the people on this season, like, are the players going to start to see that, but maybe not see it till too late? Like right now it is too early. But if, maybe the other tribe loses, they decide they want to get rid of Tyson. We're going to continue to weaken Boston Rob by strengthening him. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh crap, we're actually putting his friends over there. Now Boston Rob's going to get all these advantages that maybe they don't realize until later. But is it going to be too late by the time they do realize how much it's helping Boston Rob?
Mm-hmm.
Even if he does, there's no way that Rob gets past like 7. There's just no way. There's no way. Even if he makes merge, there's no way that Rob goes further than 7 or 8. I'm calling it right now. Like I think the best he could possibly do is like 7th or 8th place.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I agree with it.
Because also, as the more people who are on edge of extinction, the less chance Amber and or Tyson and or whoever have to send advantages because there's more people going for them. Right now, it's only Natalie and Amber.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. Well, going into my 16, 17, 18, I move these people around like 100 times. I keep crossing their names off, switching their spots because Alexa, you made good points, and then Chris made good points, and then Chris ends up still not having Kim, and I still have Kim here. So like me and Chris are probably both putting Kim in the same spot. Both kind of down on Denise. I'm way lower on Ben than all of you. Those are the 3 people I have left. I've seriously gone back and forth so many times. This is based on the fact that I think the blue tribe's going to lose again because even at the challenge they won, they probably should have lost had Jeremy not been so epic. So I think they're going to lose again. So I'm actually going to go, oh my God, I'm going to go Ben at 16, Kim at 17, Denise at 18. That's what I'm going to do. I originally had Kim in spot 18, but I think her tribe's going to win. And I don't really think maybe Ben's not as in much trouble as I think he is. Because maybe I'm just reading too far into like his wishy-washy all over the place. Kind of like, I don't know what's really going on. And I think he's going to slip up and it's going to bite him, but maybe not yet. Denise, though, I mean, you both were high on her too, but I just think like somebody on that tribe's got to go. And Denise and Ben feel like to me the easier targets because Jeremy's getting tokens and things.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it was super hard to put these players like in this position, and even based on like, what you just said, I'm switching it a little bit. But I'm putting Denise at. Denise was my 17. If the blue tribe loses again, she's 18. I mean, I just think she's the next person to go.
Gotcha.
And I don't know why. It's just like with so many players, like there's got to be the bottom tier. And I have Nick, Sandra, and Denise in that bottom tier. And I just think one, people may not want to play with Sandra. 2, are you getting sirened? Oh man, Alexa just got sirened again. Dang, Alexa, you got siren. You got siren, Alexa.
This happens all the time. This is her thing.
This actually last night at 3:00 in the morning, or you guys don't need to hear the story, but pretty much the people who I share a wall with burned something on the stove and then fell asleep. So we had firefighters like,
oh my God,
in like literally in our home for like 2 hours last night. So I got siren. I've been getting siren like real hard.
It's like getting swatted.
Yeah.
Getting siren.
Anyway, you were saying.
Well, Chris, I want to give you a shout out too, because you're like the there's that Bon Iver, but people would call him Bon Iver at first. And then if you said Bon Iver, like around people, they'd be like, oh, you're so fancy, but you're really saying it right. And you called the blue tribe Sele, and then you instantly were like the blue tribe. And like, you like almost felt like, oh, how dare I say the name of the tribe, but good on you for actually knowing the name, because we certainly don't.
Yeah, I was like, we'll just stick to blue. We'll stick to blue and red. It's just better that way.
Yeah.
I think if they lose, like it's, I don't know, just Denise has really nowhere to go other than Adam, and Adam's gonna vote with the numbers.
Adam's gonna
over
save
trying to save.
time.
Yeah, Adam's gonna save himself. Yeah, and then the other two that I have in the bottom, the final and fourth quadrant is Nick and Sandra. So it's Nick, Sandra, and Denise in that low tier. I just think Sandra, because her game, we could maybe see her 2 more episodes of playing that like super sneaky, conniving, like he said this, she said that. But these guys are smart. Like they've got to run numbers on each other. They've got to like, fact checker, right? Mm-hmm. They have to.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you have one person that's like going back and forth and they're like, Sandra told him, oh man, that's Sandra's game. Like, you've got to just be able to put something together. Someone's got to be smart enough to say, hey, Sandra, we're going to go vote this person. That person then find out. And then, that be like a sign to 5 or 6 other players. Like, we're going to tell Sandra that it's going to be this smoke screen and we're going to set up a blind side, but it's really going to be her.
That's what Sarah
kind
did
of the same
Game Changers.
Yeah. I think it's going to happen. I think it could happen that way again. I mean, that's what happened to me, I mean, that's what happened to me whenever I got voted out third. It was, the vote was, everyone said the vote was going to be on, and not that, anyone was running around like Sandra is, but it's just a perfect setup for like a double smoke screen. Is if you're going to get a player out that is talking to everyone, you tell one player that it's a vote, first layer would be like a Wendy. Then the second layer, you're going to say, hey, the vote's not going to be Wendy. It's going to be someone like Kelly. It's a second layer. And then really the person who's getting bamboozled thinks that it's a blind side for another player, but really the blind side's on them. But there's 2 layers. There's a third layer removed. Mm-hmm. So it's, that could be something where Sandra could get voted out that way.
That is such a fun, like complicated strategy right there that we're definitely going to end up seeing at some point in this season. But it's it's fun to think about, like, when is that finally going to happen? Because that's the way you're going to have to vote a lot of these players out, is you're really going to have to outsmart them, because even the worst of the winners are still really, 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 really good at Survivor. That's one thing you're going to learn watching all these players. The reason though I had Kim so low, because I had Kim at 17, and I know you both had her a little bit higher. I accidentally said that you still had her available, but you had Sandra. Kim played with probably the worst cast of players ever. Like, none of them were very good. They all ate into her hands. The guys were just ridiculous. They volunteered to go to a tribal council, which is absurd. You had Colton. Troyzan was the best male player on that season, and I love Troyzan. I think he's really good. He made it all the way final 3 of Game Changers. He didn't play the same type of game that he played in One World where he could have won, but every other guy on that season really didn't do all that much. And Kim always was playing from the top. And we just saw Kim playing from the bottom, and she did not look good doing it at all.
She did not look good doing it at all. Her and Amber both that was bad.
Yeah. Because Amber's another one. She always played from the top. I mean, because even on her season in Outback, she was on the tribe. She was on Ogakor, who won all the challenges. So she was always in control, even though she wasn't in control. It was Tina and Colby who were running that season. She was still always on the right side of the numbers and playing from the top. It was weird to watch Kim and Amber play from the bottom, especially Kim, because when Kim sat down there and was like, please, this sucks, I'm like, man, we never saw anything like this from Kim in One World. Never.
I'll give this to Kim. Between Kim and Amber, you see Kim going for it. Amber, when the vote switches to between Kim and Amber, someone has a confessional that says Amber's not doing anything. Sure, like desperation maybe isn't the best look on Kim, but it worked.
Yeah, it did. You're right.
Yeah.
It was so weird though. Like seeing Kim pleading is a weird, like I don't want it. I don't like it. I need her like bossing people. I need her like controlling people.
Yeah, or just like being more effective at like I don't know, at like manipulating the vote or pleading her case for as to why she shouldn't be the person. You never want to plead your case about like why you shouldn't be the person at the bottom. You always want to plead your case as to why someone else should be more at the bottom than you. Like always being like, you know, yeah, I get it. Like you see that about me, but look at this person. And that's exactly what Adam did. That's how you get out. That's how you get out. It's really hard for you to get out to be like, no, but I'm a good person. Why would someone want to vote for me? Like the alliance doesn't exist.
Yeah.
If that's the essence of your argument is like that, it's a lie. It never is going to work. You have to have, you know, a strategy in which you paint a bigger target on someone else's back, even if you acknowledge that you know, are a threat or whatever. You got to find an angle, and like Kim did a pretty poor job at that. And then Amber's, you know, efforts were just kind of non-existent. She just like was like, I'm just gonna trust the people that told me to vote this way, and I hope it works out.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh no.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Bummer.
It's tough how that goes. But yeah, Adam did a great job where he just said, like, you're worried about me and Denise. We've known each other for 2 days. How about the people who've known each other for 10 years or 5 years, whatever it is, or the people who are married? Like, I love that confession. It's a marriage. Like,
it's so good.
It's so good, but it's so true. Like, and that's a great way to pitch it of, you know, and I'm surprised Kim didn't do that. Like, maybe she didn't want to throw Amber completely under the bus, but I'm surprised she wasn't just like, Amber's married to a guy over there. I'm not like, don't worry about me with the Poker Alliance. She's married to Boston Rob. I just played poker with Boston Rob. And that's an easy way. I mean, it seemed like nobody wanted to be too hard on Amber, except for Tony, who, of course, like as soon as somebody brings his name up at tribal council, he starts like leaning forward in his seat and looks like he's ready to beat the crap out of anybody who walks by him. It's that instant fight. But it looked like he was really the only one who was going at Amber. It didn't look like anybody else really wanted to go at Amber. So maybe that's why it was like that. Maybe Kim knew she was safe at that point, but I don't think she did. I think Kim, even sitting at tribal when she got those first 3 votes, was like, dang, am I actually in trouble here?
Yeah.
So. Yeah, for sure.
Alexa, why don't you knock your rankings out?
I have Sarah at 16, Boston Rob at 17, and Parvati at 18. I am very nervous for my girl Parvati.
Okay,
I think she can only hide so much. I hope I'm wrong. I desperately hope that I'm wrong.
I could put her in the bottom, and switch Denise potentially in that third quadrant. But I agree.
Yeah, I could see Party being in trouble. I probably have her a little too high at number 11, but I just think she'll be able to get through this one. I'm looking at the other things we've inputted already. Austin Graham only submitted 17 people. So Austin Graham, fix your power rankings and message us again. There's your message. But yeah, so I could see Parvati going out pretty early there. And Boston Rob, though, I don't know. I think he's going to be okay because he's got Amber over there as like his just handing him things, possibly. I think he's going to be okay. But we'll see how that actually goes. Alexa, are we doing Eliminator again this season? Of course, right?
Oh, sure. Yes, completely forgot to do
Okay, so Chris, the Eliminator game, fun game that we do. You're going to start this off for all survivors. So the whole thing with this is it's kind of done like a football pool, like where you can only take one team and you can only take each team once, and if they lose, you're out. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take one player who's not going to get voted out this week. Can be anybody, but if they get voted out, you've knocked out Team Survivor, and we don't get to do this fun game with anybody who follows you on this entire podcast for the season. So don't get knocked out first. But you also want to use people who could go soon, because let's say you use somebody who you think is going to win in spot 18. Well, as people get voted out, your pool is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Not that it's actually going to be yours. It's going to be people who you're screwing over further down the line. So let's see if you're actually a hero or a villain, and you would want to take somebody who you think could be in danger soon. and but survive this week and put yourself in a little danger this week, or if you're just going to be like, well, Michelle's going to win the season, so I'll take Michelle, and I'm not going to be the one who ends up losing it for Team Survivor. So it's on you, man. Are you a hero or are you a villain?
No, man. I definitely. I'm gonna go with the person that I think will eventually get voted out in a few tribals.
Okay.
But is someone who's gonna play safe. So I'm gonna let the game continue and see if we can narrow down a true winner this season. And I'm gonna go with Nick. I think Nick is not gonna win, but also not gonna get voted out this week.
Yeah. All right. I like that one. See, that's it. Like Bradley and other people like that, like those real like bitter survivors. They're like, no way, I'm taking the safest bet I can. But Nick, you had him in spot 16, so you're taking a chance here with that. Alexa, I'm going to go Parv. Who you going?
Going Sandra.
Okay. Sandra's a good one because she got the idol. I think I'm going to end up doing Sandra next week. Spoilers for everybody there. So, but yeah, so that pretty much covers everything we needed to cover. Chris, do you have any last words you want to throw at us here, or anything you got to say about this season coming up or anything?
No, man, I'm excited. Like it was like, I think a lot of Survivor's timing, and like a lot of these players it was just the right time. Like, for me, and my wife and I talk about it a lot. It's like, we're not, I'm not sitting back like, man, I wish I'd be out there. I wish I was out there. Like, I'm really enjoying this season. And so closing thoughts is like, as a fan, I'm super pumped. And if I play again, awesome. If not, whatever. But like, I love watching all these winners. They're a really good cast, and I'm really excited to see how they play.
Yeah, I love that, and we loved having you on. This was great. It was a long time coming. We've been talking about getting you on here for a little bit, and it always seems like we can never get the dates to work out. So I'm glad we got this to work out. Even if you had to drive through, I saw like last week when you were like texting us to figure out the times, it was like you're in Amarillo, Texas at the Cadillac Ranch, and I've driven past that twice, and I hate that place with all my life. So even if you had to go through all that just to get on this podcast, hey, we made it happen.
Amarillo is probably the least dog friendly, and we've got like a little puppy, and Amarillo is probably the least dog friendly city we were in the entire time. The most like gun friendly city and the least dog friendly. And I was telling Kate, I was like, I think it's because people just like their idea of dog is just like ranch dog, just dirty,
like, goes around,
like growling, like just throws like meat out there, and they all just like eat it. Like, not dog that you take to a groomer and is like trained to not bite things. But they're like, no dogs allowed. Not even the breweries, not even place where they didn't serve food. We're like, this is lame.
Yeah.
But yep.
I'm glad
Paladuro Canyon was pretty awesome.
I'm glad you survived it, man. I've driven through there twice. I stayed there once, and I'm just like, man, this is in the middle of nowhere. Like, where do all the people live? Absolutely. Supposedly there's like 120,000 people there. I'm like, where are they? Like, where do they live? But
where do they live?
Oh my God, dude. So I saw you there.
They live in the canyons. They live in the canyons.
That's
They're
it.
Just like,
crazy. It's
Jabas or Ewoks or whatever.
I was impressed you were able to message us back on Instagram while you were there. I'm like, damn, he's got service in Amarillo. Holy crap, he did it. But this was seriously great, and we're gonna have you come on at some point again in the future, whether it's for next season or one of the seasons coming up or some point. But we'll keep in touch through this season, and we'll definitely talk a little crap if your power rankings don't actually end up turning out. We'll have to make things be heard. But yeah, thanks a lot for coming on. Yeah, of course. That's what we do. Alexa, why don't you take us home?
All right. So, for this one, we currently have 384 live viewers, and that is a lot. We are not used to that. We have over 10,000 views on our premiere recap, which is unheard of. It's never even come close. So keep hitting that subscribe button. Keep following us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Become a patron. For those of you who are $20 patrons, make sure to message us with your power rankings as we just talked through over the past hour and a half. And if you're not a patron, you should become one. We have $1, $5, $10, and $20 tiers, all with different levels of content. So yeah, make sure to do that. Make sure to support us. If you want to buy some merchandise, we have that going on too. And we'll be back this Wednesday. We are going to be podcasting on West Coast time. So we'll be back this Wednesday at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern. I will have some coffee, so I'm not falling asleep. And Chris, thank you so much for coming on. This was a ton of fun.
Sweet. Thanks, guys.
Bye.